and please. Thanks, Sarah. We record these meetings so that information can get shared on the website with other families that can't necessarily make the meetings tonight. If you can also in the chat, as when you sign in, put your email address so that we can share both the paperwork, and also we have a PDF version of the slideshow that they're going to be sharing with us tonight, which is, I don't know if you sometimes deer in headlights, we kind of miss information. So it's always good to have those to look back on. We have the rest of our board here. Katie Callahan, why don't you go ahead and start by saying hello?
Okay. I'm Katie Callahan. I'm the Family and Community Engagement Chair.
How about you, Jeannie?
Hi, I'm Jenny McKinney. I'm one of our teacher liaisons. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Bernie. And so, hi, welcome.
Kelsey?
Hey, I'm Kelsey. I am the former and future treasurer. Yeah, I have elementary and high school students in the district.
And Virginia?
Hi, I'm Virginia. I'm the secretary, and I have 3 elementary school boys in Tacoma School District.
Is that it? What am I missing?
Sarah Caswell. I'm not sure if she would be able to make it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
And she's our other teacher liaison. Sorry.
Yes, and she is Sammy, correct? Jenny?
Yes, she's the LRC teacher at Sammy, Sarah. So we've got the youngest in kindergarten up to the oldest in high school. Not quite the youngest because preschool, but.
So tonight we're going to conduct a quick piece of business that we need to take care of real quick. So we had a little bit of a board member switch around a couple weeks ago, and Kelsey, as she joked, she is our past PTA treasurer, and she is so wonderfully stepping into that role again for this year, because the treasurer that we had elected in the spring is not going to be able to fill her role this year because of requirements with kids. Things happen, and our plates are all kind of a little bit full. So do we have a quorum of 10? That is my only question, Miss Sarah.
I have 9. I'm looking through names really quick. Let's see.
Does anybody have a husband that they could throw on?
Oh, nope, that is 10. We are at quorum.
Okay,
you awesome. Are good.
So tonight I would like to propose that Kelsey replace our treasurer.
I gotta come off the vote. Sorry.
Say that again, Virginia.
Nope, sorry, I hit it by accident. We're doing homework.
Oh. Gotcha. So I'm proposing that Kelsey be elected our treasurer for the 23-24 school year. If I can have in text messages all the ayes. We're good?
That is good, yes.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, Kelsey, you again are our president, our treasurer for the year. Thank you so
Thanks,
much
everybody.
for being willing to take on the role. We really appreciate it, because without you, we can't have a PTA. So thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay, so now with that quick piece of business out of the way, I am going to turn things over to Miss Doreen. And is Cassie in here as well? Yes, she is. And Cassie.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you guys. My name's Doreen Vandervort. Some of you I know, some of you I'm meeting for the first time. So lovely to see you guys tonight. I'm the Intake and Eligibility Coordinator Supervisor for Southwest Washington Developmental Disabilities Administration, and a mom to my amazing Hunt student, Tamara Vandervort. Cassie, you want to introduce yourself? Oh, I'm not hearing her. I'm not hearing you. You're unmuted. I'll introduce you while you figure that out. So this is the amazing Cassandra Tabery. She joined our supervisory training team this year to take over the new unit, Developmental Disabilities No Paid Services Caseworking Team. She came to us from case management, so she has lots of great experience, and we're super excited to have her oversee all of the Pierce-Kitsap County clients who are newly eligible and trying to get into services. Can you speak now? Good intro. Okay, see if you can figure out your audio. I'm up first anyway. So I'm gonna kind of go along and break it up in sections. Please put your questions in the chat, and Sarah's gonna help me look at that and answer stuff. And then if you want to raise a hand or something, because you have a question about what I'm specifically talking about at that moment, go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start right now by just seeing, you guys know how to use those functions at the bottom for raise your hand. Show me my reactions. Who has a child already enrolled in DDA? Can you show me by a hand raise?
Oh my God, how do you do that?
You should have reactions. Go Alicia, go Virginia.
Can you hear me yet?
You can do a set. Yeah, I can hear you now, Cassie. Yay. You're on. All right. So I would say then a lot of you guys are here because you're interested in getting enrolled. I'm going to put a hand up too. If you want to turn your camera on and raise an analog hand, I totally accept that. That's helpful to me because I know then that means a lot of you guys are here because you want to learn about how to apply and get started with the process. It helps me know where to focus. But we'll also talk about services and how to use services once you're on them. So a little bit of both worlds here. And do you want to say anything before I get going, Cassie? Because I'm fast. Get moving.
No, thanks for having us and thanks for reaching out. It's great to connect with you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome. So first, I just kind of put up the definition of how Washington defines a developmental disability. Okay. And this is just a very big, broad, vague RCW. That's the bigger laws in our state. So we have RCWs, Revised Code of Washington. They're based on federal laws. And then we get down to Washington administrative codes, and those kind of help further define what makes a person eligible or not eligible. So I've added links. If I have a law or something in here and you're a policy nerd, I'm looking at you, Virginia. There's links in here. You can go look at the rule that applies to the slide that we're on. So down at the bottom, you'll always see a Washington Administrative Code link. So if you want to go do more research or learn more, you can dig a little deeper. So the basic determination process for DDA is 3 forms. And we are trying to show basically, am I showing my screen?
I can't see it, and I'm
Okay.
I'm like, and anybody
I'm
else?
jumping into this, and I'm not even sharing my screen.
Share screen, please.
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
Hey, there you go.
that makes a whole lot more sense now. What I was just saying. So RCWs are our big laws, and the Washington Administrative Codes are all linked down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, everybody see that? Okay. Awesome. So the basic determination process is 3 forms. Okay, there's a DDA eligibility determination request. It's 1 page, but you got to answer all the questions, and there's a lot of them. So when you click on these links, it's going to take you to our DDA website where there's a list of forms in all kinds of languages, in PDF form, in English, Word documents. If you prefer that, you can print them or you can fill them online. I'm just going to show you quickly what it looks like in a PDF form. All of this information at the top is about your child or student or young adult or adult with disabilities. And you as parents or representatives, your information goes here in the second section. And then you need to sign down here as a parent and date and write your legal relationship. So if you're the parent of a minor under 18, then you're signing parent. If you are not, and your child is 18 or older, they have to sign here in the signature applicant and date. And so unless you have legal guardianship with court documents, kids have to sign starting on their 18th birthday. Okay. So that is the 1-page form, but I highly encourage you to go through and check out this list. Make sure you can check all these boxes before you turn stuff in. And it tells you things like what it is you need to turn in, what we're asking in each of the questions in the form. So there's always some kind of a very bureaucratically designed how-to list that come with our forms. So check them out. It also tells you where to return things to. So we're Region 3 in Tacoma. This is where you can send stuff to. We also have a link to our website at the bottom that tells you where you can also email these. So you've got, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
We definitely want to encourage to the district meeting in Tacoma that people can come to and have help filling these forms out on December 5th.
Correct. Yeah. So there will be an in-person meeting where I will be with a couple of my intake and eligibility workers, along with people from the county developmental disabilities and Pierce County Coalition for Developmental Disabilities to work with students and families to figure out how to fill out this paperwork and turn in applications to us on December 5th. And it's at the community-based transition building that's attached to Skyline over here on the west side of Tacoma.
So, hey, quick question too. So one of the ladies in our meeting said, Rats, my kiddo turns 18 on December 4th.
So fill out this application tomorrow and send it in.
Yep, exactly.
Anytime before their 18th birthday, you have a legal right to sign for them.
She says, thank you.
Same with the consent form, and I'll pop it up here just so you can see what it looks like. We have a lot of people who turn these in with all the boxes checked and nobody in the lines. And that's just going to be like this year, if I can teach people anything about our application, it's that we can't help you if you don't list your providers here. So if you want me to be able to talk to your teachers in your school district to get records on your behalf, you got to list them under schools. So Tacoma School District will go on this line. If you want me to be able to get the autism evaluation that they did at Mary Bridge, I got to have their name on these lines. So turning in blank forms or forms without the medical system's names in them means that we're going to have to play phone tag with you to try and get more information from you, and that delays things. Even better, if you have your records, if you have those, if you're the mom like me that has like a huge garbage bag full of paperwork under your desk, try and dig out that evaluation where you first got diagnosed and send it in with your application. That'll move things along much faster. And we'll talk a little bit about what paperwork we're looking for. So again, your student, the child or adult's information up here, consent form for who we need to get records from. So these are people who have done a diagnosis or a neuropsychological evaluation or an autism evaluation, an individual at your school districts, and then anyone, for those of you who have 18-year-olds or near 18-year-olds, you want to put yourself, your partner, anyone else you want to be able to talk to DDA under this other section. To make sure moms, if your kids are 18 and over, that you list yourselves in the other section. Go ahead, Katie.
Can you share your screen again?
Is it not showing?
I'm not seeing it. It could be my user error, to be honest.
I still see it. Oh, now I don't.
Let me. Okay. Well, I took it down and I just put it back up. Is it showing now?
Now I can see it again. Sorry, I don't know if it was me or you.
No worries. It's all good. So this is the consent form. You're going to put your child or client information up here. You're going to check the boxes and write who you want me to get records from. If you don't already have them yourself, you can turn in your own records. That's great. We're looking for the school evaluations from the school psychologist, not your IEPs, not all of the notes about your kids' sniffles and the times you've gone in for flu shots, but those evaluation documents that establish their disability. And family members, you want to be listed in this other section for your adults or near adult clients. And you can authorize all your records or some.
Oh, we froze there. We'll give it a moment for Doreen to unfreeze.
Recognize that if you don't include things like mental health records, oftentimes we cannot get evaluation documents. And here,
Doreen, can you pause for just a
your
second?
student will have to sign if you are checking. And if you want us to get a neuropsychological evaluation or your child has COVID.
Oh, I think we lost her. Oh,
Hey,
there you are.
Doreen. Doreen, you're muted now.
Did I disappear completely?
I think you're
Zoom like
freezing. So I'm
I was like,
turning
Zoom
off my video.
kicks me out. Okay, I'm going to turn off my video too because I can talk and show my screen.
Yeah, that might be.
How's that
helpful.
looking?
It's sounding better already.
How's that looking?
There we go. Yep.
There we go.
Okay, awesome.
Good.
So if you have a student over 8, if you have a student over 13, it's telling me my internet connection is unstable. So I'm just warning you guys ahead.
Just a little, because we missed a bunch of what you said about section 3.
Okay, so for section 3, you can just click all my client records. That's super easy. If you want to say specific kinds of records, you can give a list of what records you'll allow, or you can say only these specific records. If your student is over 13 and they click anything in this yellow box, they also must sign this. You have all those treatment rules. If neuropsychological evaluations can be considered mental health. So if it's not on this list and it's not approved by the kids, sometimes the doctors will give us the records. So it's, if there's anything you can get yourselves, that's the fastest and best way to get an application through. But this is important just for what you fill out and where. And we're going to come on the 5th and talk about this and be there to support you and talk about what you have and what you might need next. And then we also look for notice of privacy practices. If this doesn't come in with your application, we'll work with you to get it afterwards. Okay. So we have a whole bunch of different eligibility types. They go from what we have at birth to 3, 1 area of delay. Some of you guys might have had early intervention and they applied for DDA. So at one time you were a client, right? And then the kids expire at age 4 because we have to have 3 or more areas of delay. So there's a reapplication at age 4. Now 3 areas of delay can carry you all the way till age 20 in Washington State. So you can have adaptive, social communication. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then these are what I call our lifelong conditions: intellectual disability, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, autism, and then another neurological condition, which catches like pretty much everything else: FAS, TBI, Down syndrome, PQ3-, all of those rare conditions. And if your child's condition isn't part of our list, we submit it up with research to have it, see if it can be considered under this category.
I
So we
had a
always,
question
yeah, go
about
ahead.
the diagnosis piece that's been plaguing me a little bit. With autism, we know that there's a full range, right, of disability there. So is autism the only qualifier, or do they
No.
need to have intellectual impairment as well?
Yeah, hang with me because no, they absolutely do have to have functional limitations as well. So we're
Okay.
looking for a diagnosis that existed prior to the age of 18 and is expected to not go away or improve. Like it's not like, hey, I had, a really bad accident and I can't walk, but I'm going to heal and get better, right? It's like a lifelong developmental condition that exists prior to age 18. And then for substantial limitations in Washington State, we look at IQ scores, we look at physical assistance needs, and we look at adaptive functioning. So it's 3 parts. And this is the best chart that I have to kind of explain the 3 parts. And it's super tiny, but I will definitely put a copy in the chat before we're done tonight. And so when you think about it, you're looking for a diagnosis from one of these qualified professionals with also evidence of a full scale IQ and an adaptive functioning test that meets these scoring. So for intellectual disability, it has to be given by a psychologist. It has to produce a full scale IQ of 69 or below. And it has to have an adaptive functioning assessment with a standard score that's a composite of all the areas of 69 or below. So you can kind of follow these straight across. Cerebral palsy has to result in aplegia, quadriplegia, hemiplegia, diplegia, has to be given by a licensed physician, has to have an onset prior to 3 in the evidence in the documentation, and evidence of daily physical assistance for 2 of these areas. No IQ requirement for cerebral palsy. And then for epilepsy, got to have the diagnosis by a board certified neurologist, and they have to have a statement in your current treatment that says that your seizures are uncontrolled, ongoing, or recurring, and you have to have an adaptive score of 69 or below on one of our tests. Autism's broken into 2. You could have had autistic disorder 299, which was what was given out to children who had a more severe version of autism before. In about 2014, came out with the DSM-5. They created autism spectrum disorder, and they included the diagnoses of Asperger's, PDD, NOS. So if you had the diagnosis and your diagnosis says autistic disorder 299 and it was given before 2014, you do not require an IQ. Still have to have an adaptive test below 69. If you had a diagnosis of autism that happened 2014 or later, then you also have to have an IQ of 84 or below and an adaptive score below 69. And another neurological condition is a catch-all. The IQ standard for that is 77 on some tests, one that's 75. And I list them all out for you. I'm not going to go over them each individually, but these are the IQ tests we take on the left and the adaptive tests that we accept on the right for those lifelong conditions that will keep you eligible past 20. Any questions about those?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So with these different assessments, I saw on the previous screen, there were different notes on like who can administer the assessment. But for example, I know that Tacoma Public Schools includes the Vineland Adaptive Behavioral Scales in their assessments. So would that be a sufficient assessment from a Tacoma Public Schools employee, or would it need to be like the pediatrician or developmental pediatrician?
No, so for a Vineland, who can complete an adaptive test is really anybody who has a history in developmental testing. The who can complete these diagnoses are the people who can give this diagnosis over here. So somebody can't diagnose autism from a Vineland.
But if the developmental pediatrician has given an autism diagnosis and the Tacoma Schools child find psychologist has completed a Vineland scale, those 2 things together could work.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And an IQ for autism has to be all 3 things.
And that was on the next page. That was the column on the left where the different IQ tests.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's some additional screens in here that kind of talk more in depth about them. I'm not going to go over them. I'm not going to read to you, but I included them here just to make it very clear. These are the IQ tests we take. These are the scores they have to have for autism, the scores they have to have for another neurological condition, scores they have to have for intellectual disability diagnosis. And then it talks about what evidence you need of your full scale IQ in here. So this is information you can give to psychologists as you're getting ready for testing, if you're doing it with your private insurance, or you can share with your team as you're getting ready to do evaluation at school. This year, we made a really significant change to our rules in that we used to only accept developmental delay up to the age of 10. And at 10, we did a review because the federal government no longer accepts developmental delay starting at, the 11-year-old. And so we implemented a review to try and help people come in. What it ended up doing was having a whole bunch of people who didn't reapply and then expired unintentionally. So this past spring, legislation passed, supported by parent advocates, to eliminate the 10-year-old review. So now all kids who start eligible under developmental delay at child find, like age 4 or 5, remain eligible until their 20th birthday. And to be eligible under developmental delay, you just have to have an adaptive like that Vineland done in the last 18 months that has developmental delays, 3 of them, of 25% or more. So it's 1.5 standard deviations or 25% or more of their chronological age. And these are the areas that we look for. So 3 of these areas have to have a low enough score in them. So a Vineland could make a child eligible until their 20th birthday under the developmental delay category. And this is new. So if you have a child who expired at age 10 or who applied in the past and didn't qualify under 20, you could potentially qualify with your last school evaluation if there's adaptive testing in that. The people who can do testing is determined by, anyone with experience with developmental testing. We take a ton of tests, like 89 of them. And every time we get new ones, we send them up to the psychology team and they approve more. I can get you guys a list of that. We got an approved list like just this week of what we can give out to folks for these are our approved tests. The developmental delay test has to be administered by a physician, a psychologist or school psychologist, a speech language pathologist, an audiologist, a registered occupational therapist, a licensed physical therapist, a registered nurse, a certified teacher, master's level social worker, orientation and mobility specialist. So these are the professionals that we look for. It's a very wide group who can administer these tests. And what that means is that teachers, paras, and parents fill out the report about a person's adaptive functioning, but it has to be scored and put into the tool and hopefully reported in the evaluation so we can see the standard scores by one of these professionals. So certified teachers, you count. OTs and PTs, you count. So again, we're just looking for evidence before the age of 18. We're looking for conditions that are known to cause intellectual and adaptive skills deficits. And one of the things that's important is if you have a child or an individual and you're doing testing and they have a co-occurring diagnosis like depressive mood disorder, ADHD, you want to make sure that as an assessor, you make a statement that says this is an accurate reflection of the person's functioning based on their developmental disability. So that it kind of says they're stable. This test is a reflection of their developmental ability, not they were super hyper and didn't take their medication today and didn't participate in testing, so they got a really low score. So it has to be statement of stability is what we call that. And so the delay functions by age. This is a WAC that's in revision, so you can see there's crossouts in there. It's open for comment right now, but basically it says this now goes to the age of 20. So eligibility expires at age 4 and age 20. And if you're on the medically intensive program, we do that at age 18. And we do a review of all clients at age 19 if their eligibility wasn't established after their 16th birthday. If their eligibility is established for a lifelong condition after their 16th birthday, they're eligible unless they move out of the state. And there's no reviews. So Cassie, you're up. I hope you have better luck with technology than I have. So once somebody's finished intake and eligibility, then the next fun process starts. And Cass, I can't see you. Are you there? Okay, go ahead.
I am here. So I'm sorry. I'm going to defer to Doreen a bunch. So because I'm not used to this graphic here. So when you're going through intake and eligibility, and once they're determined eligible, you have the opportunity to request services. And you I'm sorry. There's a service and request referral line that you can call. And we have a slide, I think it's the next slide, that has the link for that. Informingfamilies.org is a very helpful link and or resource, and they have a lot of information on applying for DDA services and how it works and what to apply for when. So when you put in a request for services, a case manager is assigned to conduct an assessment. The assessment can be completed in your home, at the DDA office, at any place that you're choosing. Also, we recognize that the assessment is quite long. The children's assessment is not quite as long as the adult, but it's going to be a minimum of a 2-hour assessment. And we recognize that sometimes that's going to be rough. We need to at least see the kiddo, and we want to interact with them as much as they want to interact, to kind of start developing a relationship with them. We don't want it to be painful. So if we need to break it up, we can do that. So if the person does not want services after they go through and they're found eligible, they're assigned to our no paid services caseload. And that, we just are launching that. Actually, the no paid services have case managers assigned to them. So what will happen is the case manager assigned will reach out to the family once a year to find out if they're interested in services, or if they need any resources, if they have any questions about, when's it good to apply, when is good to apply for whatever
We've lost your sound again.
Okay, yeah, I lost Cassie's sound too. So essentially, once you get an assessment, or you get a case manager assigned for assessment, they're going to set a date out with you. It might be 30, 60, or 90 days out. Sometimes even a little longer. We have had an enormous year. We've processed already this year 4,600 applications in the region. So we're seeing astronomically great growth, right? We're super excited to find people and get them into services. We haven't exactly funded new case managers to carry all those people. So The state is kind of in a little bit of a like, oh, we're opening up eligibility, we're expanding who we're going to serve. Now we actually have to get, folks into the workforce. Which I don't know if you guys have in any of your industries difficulties hiring, to actually support all of these folks. And that requires legislative approval and funding. None of our services are considered 100% entitled. Everything in DDA is funded, cap funded by what the legislature contributes. So that's an important thing to know. Not everybody gets a waiver. Not everybody gets a service. We're currently in a time of abundance. But my daughter waited 6 years from the time we requested to get onto a waiver program.
So that would say to me, get on the bus and do the deed now, because
it's open and there's funding. Do it now.
Yeah. And you don't want to get stuck on that wait list.
Correct. Which they won't call a wait list, but we'll just leave it at that. Okay. So then we call it our no paid services caseload, as in we are going to offer case management, but we aren't providing any paid service at the time. If your child is on Medicaid already, if you're an Apple Health client, you do have an entitlement to assessment to determine if they can qualify for personal care in home. That doesn't mean you might not get included in all the other spots, all the other waiver things that we'll talk about down next. Cassie, are you back? Just check in. We do have our eligibility stuff in in multiple languages here. So you can get the eligibility packet and information in multiple languages, for teachers and social work people. And this is my contact and my counterparts around the state, and our leader out of central office. But Cassie, I was going to show the service and request for you because I know you were talking about that. If it will click. So this is where you ask for that service.
Okay, I'm just going to play like I don't have a child in the system. So
play.
Service.
So what is a service?
No, well, what I'm saying is I've applied, filled out your forms, done the deed. What is my child eligible for? What are the different levels of eligibility?
Oh, there we go. Okay. So there are 4 layers of eligibility for a person with developmental disabilities in Washington State. The first is getting through the door to say, yes, you have a developmental disability. You're enrolled. We officially call you a client. Now you can take out an ABLE account, get a special needs trust, get that free Discover Pass from Parks. If you're already on Apple Health, you get additional benefits like dental and eye coverage as a developmental disabilities client, and access to entitlement for an assessment to see if you meet functional eligibility. So the next step is the assessment Cassie talked about. And I don't know if you want to talk about what the care assessment is like.
Sure. We're looking at, we're laying the foundation because we're starting with very minimal information. We're kind of, that first initial assessment is so lengthy because we're getting all the information, all the collateral contacts, all the information on ADLs, IADLs, communication, cognition, what else?
Behavior and
Yes.
activities of daily living. That's like bathing, dressing, eating, mobility. How do they do their daily tasks? What support do they need to be successful with them? So once you've done that, there's 2 steps that can happen at the end of assessment. One is you're a Medicaid enrolled client. You're already financially eligible. And potentially you already have supplemental security income. And that means you've already met the SSI criteria for disability determination. That means you can request a waiver right away, get enrolled, and enroll in waiver services.
Okay,
Now,
can you for just a second?
yeah.
Because as a parent, I was always concerned about the financial eligibility piece,
Mhm.
which is really your child's financial eligibility, correct?
Yeah, so there's two possible potential routes to eligibility for a waiver program in Washington State. One is that you as a family qualify for supplemental security income while your child's young. You're very low income. That is what the program was built for and designed for. In the early 80s, we got the home and community-based waiver program that says, hey, we recognize middle income families raising a child with a disability is complex and expensive and difficult. So we're going to let states enroll in these waiver programs so that they can get services in the community instead of going to institutional places. And we're going to only look at the child's eligibility. When that happens, the family income, they're going to tell you, you don't qualify, you make too much money. We're going to do our assessment if you're functionally eligible and you want a waiver service. Then we're going to send a special backdoor review into long-term care for you and say, we want this family to be reviewed under NIGMA. And they're going to send disability paperwork and ask financial questions. And they're really only asking questions about your child. Once you have a DDA waiver slot approved, they will hold a slot for you while you go through this disability determination process. And what it is they're looking, do you have resources in your child's name that are over $2,000? Because you can't if you want to qualify for a Medicaid program. And does your child meet the federal definition of a disability? And so all the paperwork that you already gave to me, you want to make a copy of it and you're going to give it to Social Security DDS so that they can make a determination. And if you turn in everything that we got, and we have our case managers send the assessment details in, that shows functional limitations, those move fast. If you send in an SSA consent form, just like the one you gave to me, they're now going to write all of your doctors that you include on the form and wait for records to come back. If you give them what they need to make a determination with your application, then it moves faster. And by faster, I mean 90 to 120 days instead of half of a year or more. So we're waiting for a Social Security determination to say they meet the federal criteria as a person with disability. Then you can enroll in your waiver and start for service planning. That also has the benefit of enrolling a family in Medicaid as a secondary payer for insurance.
I want
Can't be a reason why.
To all the families out there, do not be concerned about the financial eligibility piece because it's set up to support these kiddos. And I think so many of us think, oh, I make too much money, but it can break a family financially to do all the things that we need to do for these kiddos, whether it's therapy or mental health, medications, surgeries, whatever it might be. And just work the steps because it's worth it.
I agree with that statement. It's very worth it. It's like life sustaining for my family. It's allowed me to come back to work and do this job. So
Jamie,
community first choice. Go ahead, Cass.
Oh, sorry. This is Sarah. It looks like
okay.
Jamie has her hand raised.
Oh, go ahead. Hi,
or
Jamie.
has their hand raised.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I remember you saying something about how if the child had more than $2,000 of assets, then they wouldn't qualify. Did I hear that right?
That's correct. If you keep resources in your child with disabilities names, you can do some research around how to shelter funds. People with disabilities are allowed to save in an ABLE savings account or a special needs trust account to shelter that fund. But if you have a child who has resources over $2,000 in their name, yeah, they would not qualify for Medicaid services.
So if like when they were really little, you started a college fund for them or something?
Yes, I converted my college fund to an ABLE account, but there are some really great financial planners and folks out there that you can go research that with. The ABLE program, you know, PC2 in Pierce County does pretty great presentations around trusts and guardianship and financial planning. So get on there, sign up for their list, and learn when that next presentation is for them. They're one of our info ed providers in Pierce County.
And can you also touch on what the estate recovery means?
So estate recovery is a requirement under Medicaid. If you have a person that has significant resources in their name and they've been using Medicaid dollars and they pass away, then anything that's left in their estate could be recouped from Medicaid services, paid out. Because that person's no longer alive and doesn't need special needs additional funds, it doesn't then go to a beneficiary or a parent. It doesn't, like, you don't get to keep the money back. It's part of why ABLE and is capped at 150,000. Again, reach out to a financial planner, find out, you know, about those resources, talk to your tax specialist or lawyer. I'm not an expert on that stuff.
Well, if you've already done the evaluation and then they give you that next round of paperwork after your evaluation, how long do you have? Because I mean, talking to a lawyer and all that stuff takes a really long time to figure out, but I'm really just to fill out all that paperwork. And so I'm kind of like worried that our evaluation will expire, you know?
Oh, you know, it is individual for each person how fast those evaluations take from disability determination services. But your child's already eligible for DDA?
I mean, he did early intervention, so he's already like getting the DDA mail, but didn't get services. And then we had him turn 4 and we did the evaluation and everything.
Okay.
And so at that point, they sent us more paperwork and that's, I put it in the text, like, I'm just struggling to fill it out, but right on the top of those forms, it says that you're supposed to be, getting support from, or the way it's worded is, this paperwork is, oh gosh, I'm looking in the chat to find what I wrote. Okay.
Cassie, I think she's talking about the NIGMA packet.
This form is completed by a DSH social services or financial worker, but it just got sent to me instead of that person, and I'm supposed to be filling it out.
So you fill out everything at the top, and then from the point that it says that on, they're going to take that information on a phone call with you. You're going to have an interview that comes after you turn that paperwork in.
Is there an amount of time that you have to get that filled in before it like expires or anything?
I mean, as soon as possible is my answer. The longer you wait, the longer it takes.
And yeah, there will be like a time frame on the letter. And then I'm not sure how long it is that they wait. It's not a whole long time before they send another packet out, and they'll try twice to get you to do it. But if you don't fill it in, they'll close you out. But I would encourage you to call the number that they have on that letter that you'll get that tells you what they need, because they will help you with it. You have to call anyway to do an interview. So if you're having trouble with that paperwork, I encourage you to call for that interview, because you can ask them questions. Another helpful tip is when you're calling the number that they provide you to do that interview, you call before noon. It's much easier to get through if you call before noon, and they are very helpful with helping you with paperwork. And I always tell people, it's like, try not to get too hung up on this paperwork. It looks overwhelming, and I have walked many people through it. So
I need someone to walk me through it, because I'm already on like the second packet, but when I try to call for help, I just get stuck on the phone tree and I can never get through to anybody.
When I call, because we have to call the same number that you call, like we don't have a backdoor number to get
Cass,
through.
if she has a NIGMA packet, won't she also have a case manager assigned who can help?
I did, but he just sent me the phone tree number.
Um, hmm.
I would request a Teams call to ask questions about your paperwork.
Okay, so just tell him I want a Teams call. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
So this is our home and community-based waivers at a glance. I don't go too deeply into these and intake and eligibility, pre-calls, because you have to get through all these steps to enroll and get these services. But if you're already a DDA client, you already have services, these are the different programs. These are the different types of waiver that DDA offers. And this is kind of like a quick view. It's available in a few different languages. You can look and compare what the different waivers provide. So you might have been in an IFS waiver when your kid was a teen, 16 or 17, and now you're getting closer to transition. It's a good time to talk to your case manager about moving to a higher waiver for employment. That is one of the groups of people the legislature has significantly funded. If we are able to give them the data about who is children we're expecting to transition into adulthood and want supported employment. And the legislature funds additional basic plus spots every year for already eligible DDA clients who are going to graduate at 21 from their transition programs. So that's really helpful, I feel like, to understand. When you're asking for services, you want to pick something off this list because insurance cannot be a reason for applying. I think that's really important for people to understand that. A lot of people would love secondary insurance to help pay for copays and things like that. And it's a potential benefit of someone who's enrolled in a waiver, but you have to have a service on these lists that you want to use. And I love respite care, specialized equipment and supplies, community engagement, assistive technology. All of these things are things that can benefit your child or student. And so you kind of want to take a look at these and get an idea of what you want to request when you're requesting assessment. And
Okay.
case managers are great at helping out with that.
I think that could we give just some like basic examples? Like
Sure.
for me and my kiddo, respite care is great, but we also do a lot of recreational pieces.
Yeah, that's respite care. Yeah, so respite care can be used to like
Yes,
have a
and I don't
YMCA membership,
realize that.
go to
You know,
specialized recreation.
yeah, I think that it's just somebody coming into their house and watching their kid. My kiddo goes to summer camps on this. He does skiing all winter long with this. Or he
There's
shouldn't say
lawn bowling and bowling and movie nights and all kinds of cool things.
Yeah, all kinds of cool things to get them more involved and engaged.
And I actually really love the environmental adaptations is a really great one if you have accessibility needs in your home. Specialized equipment and supplies that can pay for things like your Billy shoes, your special socks for under AFOs. It can support things like adaptive equipment that you need that's not covered by insurance.
We had specialized window locks and door alarms.
Yeah, and it's all based on the individual
What was
child's.
that? You kind of were breaking up, I think.
Oh, it's all based on the individual child's assessment. So how you answer the questions in the assessment and what you're asking for, that is that helps to define sort of what services you might use or qualify for. So usually we're looking for some kind of a professional to say that the thing is medically necessary. These are still Medicaid dollars. So it has to be tied to their disability. And there has to be somebody who is going to say, yeah, okay, they need this special tomato chair for seating so we can help them be supported so they can become more independent with eating or using a spoon or utensil. See how it all ties together? So usually a PT or OT would write that up. and then insurance says no, then we can look at waiver approvals for it. So there's a process. I always tell this to families. It's important for you to know there's a cost, your money or your time. And there is an investment and an engagement that has to happen between you and your case manager to achieve these things.
A quick question. You said there was a financial company. What was that name again? EC.
Financial company.
You said East. It was referring to like the financial advisor help. It was EC.
Oh no. P as in Pierce County Coalition for Developmental Disabilities, and they're I'll put their link in the chat. In fact, I'll put the links to both our info ed providers. We have a parent support group organization at Washington PAVE that does parent support groups where you can go and talk with other parents, get ideas. There's also Pierce County Coalition, and they do the resource fairs, and they're helping host these application nights that we're doing together. And both of them are incredible resources.
Please add us to that list.
So those are the two websites for our information education providers in Pierce County. So I included tons of links in here for you guys to look at. Some of it is about understanding what your care assessment is. These are videos that talk about the different waivers, the main waivers that people enroll in first. This is that process map that was linked above, and then some flyers and fact sheets and brochures from DDA. That is the end of my slideshow. So now we're just here for questions.
I have a question. I know a couple parents have mentioned that they're already on DDA, and Doreen, you mentioned that there is a time investment. I'm wondering if some of the parents who are already on it could maybe try to quantify how many hours a year they spend navigating this process, just to give those of us who are maybe a little overwhelmed by how expansive this is, kind of an idea of what we should expect.
I feel like once I was on it, it's a 3-hour commitment tops once a year. And then with the big re-evals, which Doreen, you'll have to remind me the ages that those things happen. We just went through one. They take a little bit more, but not substantially, maybe an hour more.
Okay, and that's what it sounded like Cassie was saying, is that like that sort of initial eval once you're deemed eligible is a couple hours, and that is definitely something to keep in mind, especially with like younger kids. But it's nice to know that sort of once you're sort of over that hump and enrolled, it's maybe not as overwhelming at that point.
And the nice thing about it is when you're going through that interview process, they are literally walking you through it. And it is questions about every single segment of your child's life, things you didn't even think play a piece in the puzzle, all of a sudden do, So, and I think that those meetings are I think, Doreen, you can probably appreciate this. Those meetings are kind of hard and just like the way a school evaluation is really hard to lay out everything that our kids can't do, won't do that they shouldn't do, is really hard. But it is so valuable to get the support. I mean, for us, it opened the door to experiences that my child wouldn't have had, that has made him want more and has, allowed him to escape video games for a little bit. Allowed us financially to be able to do more therapies, which then of course pushes him further. So I can't imagine where we would be without the services from the state. And I am a middle income family, and I, like many of you, felt like I wouldn't qualify, was concerned about that. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of things I don't qualify for, but thank God I qualify for this one.
Crystal, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was curious about, do you need both parents in order to apply, or can just one
No, anyone who's a
parent
legal
apply?
any legal decision maker can apply on behalf of a child. So no, we don't require
Okay.
both parents.
And then when you're considering everything as a whole, especially like incomes, do you look at both parents or just the one that makes the decisions?
We look at the custodial parent and the information they put in. So if you're receiving funds, long-term care can answer that question more specifically. It's about the household the child lives in.
Okay, thank you.
But still, if you're looking at waiver services,
Then you only worry about kids' funds, not your own.
right?
So when we're looking at the adults funds, it is just Social Security funds.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at state, not the federal piece, that is just the child's funds. Got it, guys?
Yep. So kids under 18 are basically getting a backdoor Social Security eligibility determination without looking at parents' financial picture through the DDA waiver. If you called up Social Security and put your family income on a form, they're not even going to give you an interview because they're going to say you don't financially qualify. So if you know that you exceed that $2,000 resource limit, like the programs, Social Supplemental Security Income and Disability Medicaid was designed for very low income people. And so to sustain or maintain it, you have to stay within their income guidelines. This says, well, we also believe disability of a child as a contributing factor, and we will look at children who are approved for DDA, which means they've met my criteria at eligibility. They're functionally eligible in an assessment from Cassie's team member. Then we requested a waiver slot and there was funding open for a waiver slot. Then they get that DDS Social Security federal review. Hi, Mara. Do you have another question, Crystal? Or are you just hands up still?
No, I don't have any more questions. Sorry.
Awesome.
I have a question and I don't know how to raise my hand.
That's fine. Speak up.
So my son receives Social Security survivor benefits because his father's passed away. Is that his income or my income?
How old is your child, Melanie?
He's 9.
He's 9. So there is a special set aside for children who are considered survivor benefits. And I believe it depends on how you spend them and how much they are. So it's a question for the long-term care team to ask what those count towards or don't. I know for adults, it doesn't impact their ability to access Medicaid services. It does impact the amount of supplemental security income they could receive. So if their survivor benefits exceed what Social Security would typically pay out, they don't get any dollars, but they maintain Medicaid eligibility. Once your child's 14 and they're a client of DDA, we have a free benefits planning specialist team that can support you with understanding their rights to supplemental security income and access to Medicaid. So getting through that eligibility door, even if you're not going to use the service right now, is a really good idea.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jamie.
I just wanted to jump on what you already said. If I already did the evaluation process and we have a caseworker and everything, but I just cannot manage the paperwork. It's just too much for me and I have too much on my shoulders. Then am I already like what you just recommended for the last person? Am I already like through the door to a degree?
Yeah, so if you already had, so there's an expectation for a waiver, right? That you're going to use a monthly service. That's Medicaid rules.
Yeah.
So seeing if you could enroll in the YMCA and use those respite dollars for a monthly membership where you drop in at the Y. It's a great way to use a monthly.
We do have a Y membership already that we are using. So I
And
mean, and that's
So
kind of,
have DDA pick up the funds for that kid.
I think I like what you're saying. It's just that I feel like it just feels impossible for me to do this paperwork. I really am like losing my mind over it. And I've been working, I've been putting in too much time trying to do it and I just can't do it anymore.
You're talking about the long-term care NIGMA paperwork.
I'm not even sure honestly, like what the paperwork is anymore. Cause I feel like I just keep having to fill out more stuff and I'm just,
Yeah, it's like one layer after another. It's frustrating. I remember the first year enrolling with Damara and it can feel really daunting and overwhelming. Your case manager should be able to help you with it. So I do want you to say, like, reach out and ask for some time with them to fill it out and get some help. The other people who are super helpful with this stuff are the PAVE and PC2 coordinators. They are super helpful and super great at explaining what to put where in papers. If you're having difficulty filling out an eligibility application, we're going to have the event on the 5th where you can come to the CBT, but you can come in, walk into our office at 1305 Tacoma Ave, and we're on the 3rd floor, and I have a worker in every day of the week, Monday through Friday, that's not a holiday, that can help you with filling out the intake paperwork.
Can you put a website for the location where you're talking about and I'll use that?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Amara, hi.
Hi, this is just, this is if other folks don't have questions. But we have applied and received, like personal care funds. And I have not figured out how to successfully use those. So if any, I would just love ideas, from this group of how they've used those. Our kid, it's hard for me to imagine. Yeah, anyways, and this is Noah and he would like you to know about our
Hi,
two
Noah.
Hi,
Your
Noah.
dogs are very cute.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing them with us.
Yeah.
Very excited that Ms. Caswell, who's his teacher,
My teacher, yeah.
was
my teacher.
mentioned.
Oh, very cool.
Oh,
Go for it. Do you want to
Noah.
talk about how to use personal care, Katie? I have some ideas, but I'd love to hear from some of you guys who are using it.
I will be completely honest. This is where I too get a little confused between respite hours and personal care hours because I feel like at times they can be used for the same things and other times they can't be. And I'm a little confused by that.
So gosh, Cassie, please help me out if I say anything kind of out sideways on this. Personal care is to complete the tasks that you identified as your child being, needing support with. So anything that comes up on that list in your person-centered service plan, assigned to CDWA or IP or whoever you chose, that's things like bathing, dressing, eating, mobility. In some special circumstances, things like laundry, that kind of stuff. It's important to know personal care isn't protective supervision.
Is this where we develop the goals for the year?
So goals can be a combination of services, right? But that person-centered service plan has a summary. So you might have, I'm just going to make numbers up right now. No, I'm not. I'm going to give you Damara's numbers. 60 hours a month of personal care, right? She's a 12-year-old who's a wheelchair user, okay? And needs help with all the activities of daily living. So personal care is for the caregiver to come over and help her with her shower, to help with transfers and mobility, to help with bathing. At an earlier time in this year, we were on a feeding tube and suction. So then they were helping with those things. So that's not my life right now. She's recovered from that. Praise all the good things. And so now we have less hours, right? Because her personal care needs went down. So personal care is tied directly to how you answer the questions in the service level assessment. And that's that second part with lots of questions about medical and what behaviors you see and what support did you provide in the last 7 days for bathing, for dressing, for eating? And it's usually about the last hour that you spend with the case manager, but it determines your personal care hours. And it looks at diagnoses, it looks at interventions. That is separate from respite. Respite is a waiver service. Personal care is the entitlement. Anybody can get personal care that's on Medicaid. Say that one more time.
It can be utilized by the same people in the sense that if I contact a in-home care service, right, and they come in, I've got meetings and I need to leave, and they come in to care for my kiddo.
Yeah.
Is that considered respite or is that considered personal care?
So
Or
typically if you're leaving the residence, I mean, it can be a combination of those things, right? If they're providing some protective supervision during that time so you can have a break, that could be considered respite care. If they're doing bathing, dressing, mobility support during that time, then it's personal care. If all you have is personal care, decide what activity during the day you want that person to be there for.
Can ABA be considered personal care?
ABA is not personal care. It's a behavioral intervention paid for by insurance.
Okay.
And you'll know what your personal care is for because on your assessment, it tells you item by item, what are the things that are approved for your IP to do. And so if you can't find an individual provider, that's where I think most people struggle. That's probably where you're at, Amara.
Yeah, because the hours are so limited for what we qualify for. I frankly haven't even started look because it's like 10 to something, whatever the unit is, like 10 to 15. And I just haven't figured out how to. Anyways, I was just, if since we had time, if other parents had
it's a super important question.
I would love to get the help. I just can't envision what caregiver is going to come in, form a relationship, be able to manage the things that we take care of in 10 hours, whether it's a week or a month or whatever it was.
Yes, I would say so. It really depends, right? So we have caregivers that come for a couple hours after school every day. And my daughter's one of 4 clients they support. So they make a full-time job out of serving multiple people. I set that up with some mom friends who also needed caregivers that I found at a support group. So we got kind of creative around that, right? So I had 10 and they had 10 and we picked days and we kind of set up a schedule and I made it work.
If anybody on here is looking to do that,
share an IP. So then we posted jobs and found some people who were interested on carina.org and then interviewed and hired from there.
I also have had a parent that went to the local community colleges and put up a notice on the job board looking for a caregiver. So then for her kiddo, and she ended up getting 2 different students that were like in early learning classes who she then helped go through the process of getting contracted to become an individual provider. And that worked really well.
Yeah.
If you know somebody that ideally, I mean, is is the best. Is if you know somebody that a neighbor or something that wants a little part-time gig, they can get contracted.
Well, I'm going to say, even if you don't qualify for hours right now, or you are like, I don't just see how this is going to benefit my family to spend this time at this moment in my life, right? Maintain eligibility, because school will end. The 6 hours a day that your loved one is supported by teachers and programming stops at 21. And then what? And those are important times to be thinking about what's next. And if you have some natural people in your life that like to spend time with Noah, I'm assuming we're talking about him, then you really think about what does it look like to start developing a relationship with somebody who's 18 or over and can pass a background check, who we would like to help get contracted through Consumer Direct Washington, to be that we're just going to hang out and go to the movies once a month. We're going to, for the respite care hours, or
Absolutely.
I'm just going to take you to the Y and we'll show you like how we do Y community, how we do public showers safely. Yeah, YMCA, dude, you got it. As your student gets older, when they turn 18, parents are no longer required to provide care and protective supervision anymore. They become a legally free adult 18 years one day. And as parents, you can actually get contracted to be their caregivers at 18. So you can go through the process to be contracted, take training as a family caregiver. You can be the provider and get paid hours. Siblings can do that. Cousins can do that. There's lots of people who can provide that care. So think about who are the natural supports in your community you might want to invite to make $18 an hour to hang out with you.
When I had a medical issue come up and we weren't using our caregiver hours at all, and I had to have foot and ankle reconstruction, and my little guy was 5 and I couldn't walk, was using a knee scooter and a walker, couldn't, hardly bathroom myself. So I definitely couldn't do laundry, shopping, driving him to appointments, all of those things. That's where we actually called DDA and got emergency hours. Mm-hmm. So that is another reason to make sure you keep, even if you're not using, keep it valid, because you never know when a medical emergency is going to come up and you're going to need more support to replace you. You know what I mean? So
that's super true. Super true, Katie. And I think that's the stuff we don't want to think about, but have to plan for in our lives. Jamie, I see your hand.
It was 18 weeks non-weight bearing, so I couldn't walk. And with a 5-year-old, it was very challenging. And once again, DDA saved my butt.
Well, Doreen, you said recently, maintain eligibility with the DDA. Like, that's your advice. And that's the step, like, I don't know if I'm doing that or not.
How do
you know
if you reapplied at 4 and you got the "you're eligible" letter, you have established eligibility till age 20.
Okay, so if we did an evaluation and we got the paperwork after the evaluation, where are we in that process?
Right now, you have the paperwork to do your federal financial and Social Security federal disability review to see if you can enroll in one of these waivers to get these additional services like respite and equipment and supplies and stuff like this.
So what you're saying is we would have to have one of these programs, and then we're at that point that you're describing. So
Correct.
We're almost there. And after you would be there.
Yeah, you got this paperwork, a decision from DDS, and then an interim assessment to choose waiver services. Those would be your next steps.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't already there. All right, thank you.
You're getting close. Don't give up. I encourage you, Jamie, don't give up. Come see me in the office.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Doreen.
I put down yeah, I put down your hours and your address and which floor.
Thank
So
you. Thank you. I was like,
I'm
hadn't
pretty
quite
sure
gotten
she
to
might come
doing that.
knocking.
Yeah,
No,
thank you.
and yeah, I'm in a similar boat where, my son qualified when he was young. He was in the first of three, but then I didn't pursue it any further to get services. So I may actually be going through that process with you all. So
Reapply. See you soon,
just to
Sarah.
let you know. Yeah. So
Yeah, and no, it can take a long time when you're doing your first, steps through the door. Even if you're just choosing like, hey, I'm gonna do eligibility now so I can save an Enable account and know that I'm putting away money for later. Able can be used for school. We just put my daughter's school account in her sister's name and then saved an Enable account for her. So just, it's really unique. But yeah, like so this last year when Damara had her medical challenge, we had a shunt failure. And we were in the hospital for over a month. We came out with all kinds of new equipment and stuff that we had to, figure out how to do life with. But we also had a school that's like, she can't come to school like this. We'll send teachers to the house. We'll send PTs to the house for a few hours a week to try and help keep her engaged. But DDA was like, oh, well, if school says you can't come for these medical reasons, and the doctor says you can't come for these medical reasons, then they do homeschool. And DDA then said, oh, well, we don't count the 3/4 time rule against you anymore because you don't have a school program. And so we got like what her hours will be when she's an adult and they don't consider mom main primary caregiver anymore. And at 18, that the hours that a person can qualify for are significantly more because there's no requirement that anyone provides an informal support. Like the state expects that between the school program that they're eligible for and parents that we're meeting their need 3/4 of the time. Unless there's like extreme duration or, those things can be captured in the assessment. Things take a long, long time. Like 1 minute left. So hopefully I was helpful in answering questions. Cassie, do you want to say anything last?
Thanks, Doreen.
I know. I do a lot of these. This is Cassie's first with me. So she learned I talk a lot.
Well, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know nothing when I listen to you.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, like,
I learned a bunch.
Yeah, don't expect to know all this stuff, guys. I've been a disability social worker in this county for 20 years and a mom to Damara for 12. And I've done a lot of my own learning. I thought I knew a lot of things and I learned a lot of things even since starting this new job. Yeah. Noah, we'd love to see your dogs. I'll totally hang out.
Go for it.
Show me your puppies.
We got this 13-year-old little girl right there.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute.
Oh.
Hi, baby.
Sweet baby. Like, oh my
She looks cozy in her coat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Oh, they all got the jackets.
Oh, hi, cutie.
Hey, he's playing with a pig.
Oh,
he's got a cute pig. Is that his stuffy?
No, he's
oh, this is Chewy. He's like, give that to me.
He's still a puppy. He hops the fence.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, no, I look forward to seeing
I would show you all
cool
my
things you'll get to do.
I would show you all my snake, but she passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for your loss.
She escaped in my car and just too cold.
Too cold. Yeah. That'll happen to those reptiles. They're not used to this northwestern weather.
Oh, they are not.
No.
Well, thank you for sharing your animals with us, Noah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Noah.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Have a great night, you guys.
You're welcome.
And that concludes our meeting tonight, everybody. Feel free to see it on the website. I will post this recording and send out information on emails. The BOD And Doreen and Cassie, if you guys wanted
Yeah.
to leave and then hop back in, we can do a quick debrief.
Awesome. And see you guys on the 5th. Come and
Yes,
see me and I'll
absolutely.
help you with paperwork. Jamie, I'm
Yes.
talking to you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you, Doreen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.